session live. And tonight we're running another Inspire event. We've run them before very successfully with Ali Jawad and other sports celebrities, but we have a very special lineup for you this evening. So I'm delighted Jenny Cook has taken time out from STV and other lower class venues to appear on the question and answer session tonight. And we also have starring alongside Jenny, it's not Barry Gibb from the Bee Gees, although he looks awfully like him. It's Barry Cook, who is Jenny's dad. So a very warm welcome to you both. How are you both doing?
We are good. Thank you for having us on.
Yeah, all good. Thanks, Richard.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, so I'm just going to kick off, please. Jen, can I ask you just to introduce yourself and just say a very brief word about yourself, please?
So my name is Jenny. I am 18 and I've been an ambassador for the foundation for many years now. And I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis when I was 4 years old. So that's how we got involved with the foundation 14 years ago.
Wow, that's been a long time. And Barry, would you like to introduce yourself too, please?
Yep, happy to, Richard. So yes, I'm Barry, I'm Jenny's dad. As Jenny said, the Catherine McEwan Foundation have been a big part of our lives now for a number of years. Actually introduced to Derek at an event that Derek had put on for parents. So, yep, great to be along tonight, Richard.
Great. Jenny, can I start off with just asking you, what's your earliest memory of going back with colitis and things? Where does it all start for you in your journey of 14 years?
Well, obviously, I don't remember much of it. I know that I was really ill for maybe the first year or so before I finally got diagnosed with IBD. And I just remember obviously very long hospital stays, lots of diets and medication to be on, missing pretty much all of primary 1 to 3, and just been really poorly before I got surgery when I was 6.
Okay. And do you remember the operation and things, or is it a part that you just can't remember?
I remember wee little bits. I remember being in the high dependency unit after my first operation and being just completely tangled in tubes and wires coming out of me. But apart from that, it's really hard to remember back on it. Just being in hospital for a very long time and just missing out on a lot of school is pretty much the main things I remember.
Absolutely. And can you remember when you first became aware of the foundation?
So I remember I was on steroids and it was a family fun day that the foundation put on at the Science Centre. So Derek invited me and my family along to that, and I remember we met families who were going through the same thing, and I think that was the first time that we had that kind of interaction with other people who can relate with you with what you're going through, and then ever since then obviously we've been a big part of the foundation.
So I think your earliest memories of the foundation are probably one of the the solid bases of it that have led many people into the foundation were the family days and things. Barry, can I ask you what you remember of the family days or the first involvement with the foundation? I think you touched on it before, but
yeah, absolutely, Richard. I remember them very well because at that particular time there were pieces of interaction as a family that we were really looking for. We really wanted to engage with other families who were on a similar, who had been on a similar journey or who were currently on that journey to tap into their knowledge and experience, because we had a great relationship and still have a great relationship with Jenny's medical team, which you've were a big part of for many years. But actually speaking to kids, speaking to parents, I think it gave us so much at a family, a really crucial time as well. I think from memory, it was in between Jenny being diagnosed and coming up to that first operation, which was her bowel removal. You know, we were very, very anxious and apprehensive. And actually at those family days, we met families who had actually been through that process. And I think actually, if I recall correct, I think we may have met the surgeon at some point not long after that as well. So we were a step ahead in the journey as well, which was crucial to us at the time.
Yeah, Mr. Haddock's made several star guest appearances at the Science Centre and elsewhere, and I think, you know, it helped people at all stages of surgery to meet, you know, Mr. Haddock in an informal setting and him tell things as they were. I think he was very good at talking in a public forum, probably drawing on his, you know, his Cub Scout past and everything. I think people will be interested in, you know, your colitis and things, and, you know, having, you know, a big operation at such an early age, Jenny. But where did you find your inspiration then to start fundraising? Because that obviously started a long time ago and is built up, and that's one of the, you know, the inspirations. This event tonight is called Inspire. So where did you draw that early inspiration from? Can you remember?
Well, the inspiration all did come from Derek. I remember, you know, being at these family fun days and the carnivals and all of the events that him and his team had put on, and I just thought that was just something amazing to help people like myself who were going through similar things, but also being in hospital and having, you know, being in a ward and having other patients around me who were going through the same kinds of thing. And I just remember thinking, you know, I want to do things to make their journeys a wee bit easier.
Brilliant. So how did the fundraising start? What was your first idea? Where did it come from? Did it come from Derek, or did it come from you or your parents or your friends, or where did you get the ideas from?
So, well, the first fundraising event I put on, it's a strange one. It was me that came up with this when I was 5, but it was a cheese and wine night. So we had that, I know, very, very fancy for a 5-year-old, but yeah. A cheese and wine night at my, so that was held at my primary school. So we had about like just over 100 people, cheese and wine, very civilised. And I did my first wee speech and told my story. I think I got out of hospital on that afternoon because I said, right, I need to be out. I need to go to this event and do my wee speech. And then ever since then, it's called the fundraising bug, you know, just wanted to keep going. And then the main thing after that's been Tea Jenny, which is the annual ladies' lunch event.
Yeah, so I mean, an early start with cheese and wine, and then I mean, 100 for your first event. It really did set the bar pretty high, I would say. But you know, it's gone from strength to strength from there. So where did the idea for Tea Jenny come about? And just tell us exactly what Tea Jenny is for those people who are not lucky enough to have been.
So, well, the name Tea Jenny, well, I absolutely love tea and my name is Jenny, so that was easy enough to come up with that name. And then, so it was meant to be the 10th year last year, which obviously had to be rescheduled. So looking forward to having a big party for that. So it's usually held in what was the Thistle Hotel. So it's now the Hilton Doubletree. So it's raised over £20,000 in one afternoon with over 500 ladies. And it's always a really good day out. Everyone seems to really enjoy it.
Are tickets available for this year's event?
So we are currently looking to do something in September. Obviously, it won't be as big as what Tea Jenny usually is, but we're currently looking into doing something similar, which will hopefully take place in September around sometime. So I'm sure that will be posted on my Tea Jenny Facebook page if people want to buy tickets for that.
Okay, brilliant. Barry, what would be your favourite memory of Tea Jenny, or what's been your experience of seeing your daughter doing this fundraising and putting events on like this? What would you reflect on?
I think reflecting, not only being very proud of Jenny and, you know, continuously going with that event, and a lot of the awareness at a very young age that, that she put out there, Richard. I think it was very much, and still is, unfortunately, in some cases, a subject that people just didn't want to talk about for obvious reasons. And I think that, you know, having the confidence to instill some confidence in your peer group, you know, is a big, big thing. And being able to do that, you know, in an older age group as well is really important. But, you know, T-Jenny's evolved from being a kind of 100-lady event to a 500-lady event. Now, I remember the very first one where it was ladies only. So clearly I wasn't allowed. But I took a table with 9 other friends and we all dressed up as ladies. And the kind of bizarre thing about that was many ladies at that event didn't realise we were actually men dressed up as ladies. So it's probably something we should be concerned about. I think what else we found was at a very young age, people found it difficult to say no to Jenny. When she spoke about the cheese and wine night, you know, all of that was put on for free. She got the cheese from a cheese company by going out to them. She got the wine from very good friends of ours, Stephen and Mary, who run the local pub in East Kilbride. You know, all these events were put on with the full support from the community as well. And I think that's a really important thing to do right at the outset, to get that support and buy-in.
I think we should have some pictures available of you on that night with the dressed up as a lady, Barry. I think we should share those on the Facebook page if you can. Anybody who's listening and who has those pictures, please put them up on Facebook. Please do ask your questions as they come to mind. But Jenny, I wonder, you know, you've obviously gone from, you know, a small start with cheese and wine up to, you know, 500 ladies in a room raising £20,000 in an afternoon, which is absolutely, you know, fantastic work. If there was someone at the moment who's watching and is inspired by you, what advice would you give them in terms of fundraising and how to get involved? And what would you, looking back over those, 12 years of fundraising, what would you say to them?
Yeah, I would say be creative. There's so many different things you can do to fundraise. It doesn't need to be boring. It can be something that you've got an interest in yourself, and reach out to other people like us and anyone else that's part of the foundation that do fundraising, because we would obviously be more than happy to give you our advice and support. And it's mad how quickly things can snowball into a really small event into something that's really big.
Have you enjoyed it? You look like you have, but it must be quite stressful putting on all these events, and the bigger they are and the more money they raise, the more pressure it puts on you to raise more at your next event or do something different.
Yeah, it is stressful, but it's something that's just really rewarding, and it is something that I really enjoy. I mean, it is probably my poor mum or Derek that will run about after me when I come up with like one of these ideas, but it is something that we all just really enjoy doing, and it's really rewarding to see the hard work pay off and help other people.
And I think on the other side, you know, between the fundraising, the foundation and T-Jenny and everything, we really, you know, at the Children's Hospital, we're very grateful for all of the fundraising that you did do. And I think it worked very well at the events, because you were often raising money for a very specific item of equipment or a very specific project. So, you know, you've helped buy equipment in terms of the cameras, you've helped buy equipment in terms of the capsules that you swallow, and you've helped with very practical things like with some of the research studies, you know, helping supply freezers so patients can collect samples at home, put them in the freezer and be part of the research studies. So from the hospital side of things and receiving the fundraising, you know, it's worked really, really well. So thank you very much for that. It's been brilliant. I know obviously you've recently turned 18, so belated happy birthday, but it was held a little bit in lockdown. How do you see yourself going forward? So are you going to continue with fundraising? I think often, you know, children are inspired to do the fundraising, but then as they become an older teenager, perhaps other things become more important, or that same inspiration that they had at a younger age isn't there. So what does the future look like for you in terms of fundraising?
Yeah, to continue as much as we can as a family to help other people going through the same thing. I still live with IBD on a daily basis, so I know how difficult it can be. So the determination to help other people and make their lives a wee bit easier, like, it won't go away. So yeah, definitely more ideas in the future, and the foundation will obviously continue to be a massive part of my life and my family's lives.
So T Jenny's going to keep going? I thought T Jenny 10 might have been the last one.
No, can't stop it. I have to keep going.
And Barry, if I can come to you then, Jenny's done the fundraising and things very much led by her. What does your future fundraising look like, or what's your involvement with the foundation at the moment?
So I'm part of the board of trustees for the foundation, Richard, so very much involved in the direction of the charity. I think what's very unique about the Catherine McEwan Foundation is they don't rest on what they've done and what they've done well. They're continuously looking at what they can do bigger, better. They don't focus on the same type of ideas, same type of events. It's constantly evolving. We've got a great group of trustees who have got ideas to drive the charity. So that will probably take up quite a bit of my time, to be fair, but something that I really enjoy.
Yeah. So he's leaving the fundraising to you. I think that was a polite way of saying that in public, Jenny. Do you think that's what he was saying?
Probably, Richard, probably, but I'll be able to rope him into helping anyways.
Oh, I'll be roped in, Richard. We'll all be roped in. As I said, it's difficult to say no sometimes. So
I absolutely 100% completely agree. I wonder if I can ask you, Jenny, then about the Pride of Scotland Awards. So obviously, as you've gone through with your fundraising and you've gathered more money and more momentum, I think people have recognised what an inspirational person you are, and how you've been able to, as you say, rope everybody in all along the way, from the free cheese at the start to getting everybody basically who you meet to be involved. So tell us what the Pride of Scotland Award was like for you, and tell us about the experience.
So the Pride of Scotland, it was a very big surprise. I was not expecting it at all. And yeah, it was an amazing experience. The work that went into organising all of these surprises was just really good. So got a video message from Gordon Ramsay, met the Vamps, and yeah, awards. People who know me know that awards, I don't know, I feel uncomfortable accepting awards, because it's really, like my dad said, so many people that help me do these things every year, and without them, then none of it would have been possible.
So how did they trick you into it then? Talk us through how they lured you into it. It was in STV Studios, was it?
It was in STV, yes. So I was told that we were being filmed for some kind of documentary. Everything was quite vague. And came out to the house and filmed that. And obviously I wanted to be a journalist. So they said, we'll get you into SUV to do some work experience for a day. So I thought, oh, fab, that sounds good. So went in just thinking I was doing that, met like different people doing like the camera operating, got a wee tour. And then I got a shot of reading out the auto cue system in the newsroom with John Mackay. And then I was reading that out, and then Gordon Ramsay pops up on the screen next to me. And then that's obviously when I knew, right, okay, something else is going on. So yeah, they tricked me very well.
So up until that point, you had absolutely no idea? Absolutely
no idea. When I look back on it now, there were so many clues. I could see my mum being, fidgeting. Everyone was all anxious, but no, I had no idea at all.
Wow, what a great surprise.
Yeah, it was really good.
Barry, I presume you were in on it?
I was, and it's probably just as well that Jenny wasn't aware of it, Richard, because she's made clear over the years many times that she never wants awards, never wants recognition for any of the work that she's carried out. So I could imagine the meltdown if she was aware of it, in terms of not wanting to go, etc. So it was a great surprise for her when she got there, and she had no option but to accept the award. So it all worked out in the end.
Yeah. That's brilliant. And next you're going on to do journalism at university, is that right?
I am, yep. So I'm starting Strathclyde to do journalism and politics in September. So I've got quite a bit of free time until then.
Okay. And so are you going to be a politician then, or a journalist?
Oh, see, to be totally honest, I have no idea still what I want to do with myself, but this is something hopefully quite broad. So maybe we could merge them both together, some sort of political journalist. Sure, I'll think of something.
Well, there's a few people sweating in their shoes anyway on reporting Scotland and STV News at the moment, I'm sure. I think we've obviously talked about the fundraising side of things, and where you found the inspiration for that. But for everybody who has IBD, it's not a straight road, and there's lots of bumps along the way. How has it been for you in terms of coping and managing your feelings and emotions around the the ups and downs that IBD gives you?
Yeah, well, to be honest, it's been really difficult, some parts of it. It's really hard, but I've always been brought up to have a really positive outlook and attitude on things, and I feel like that's something that's definitely helped me along the way. And obviously I've got my friends and family to support me and keep me going. So yeah, sometimes it is really difficult, but you just have to get on with it, really.
Yeah, because I think people looking in from the outside would see you as a very confident person who can stand up and speak, and perhaps would be surprised to learn that everybody has this, the same ups and downs. So what did you do at the lower points? What were your go-to things, and what could you give other people to share if they're in that low point at the moment? What helps you bring it up to the next high point?
I think it's really easy to sort of isolate yourself from everyone else when you're not feeling well. It can be really hard to talk to people if you are struggling, and all I would say is definitely reach out to someone, your family, your friends, but there's also such a great support network on social media as well. The amount of support groups there is on things like Facebook and stuff, where people can ask all sort of questions, and everyone can relate to each other. So definitely don't just cut yourself off from everyone. Reach out, talk to people. It definitely helps.
Yeah. So I think I think one of the positive things in recent years is how openly people talk about mental health, and I think that's a good thing. I think along with that, people have spoken about IBD more as well, because they're both things which are taboo subjects. And from your perspective, Barry, I'm sure you've been through a similar bumpy road with Jenny as she's gone through her trials and tribulations of her colitis and everything else. What advice can you give to parents who are in a similar position, particularly thinking of when things can be more difficult?
Yeah, I think, not only the relationship with the medical team's crucial, Richard, it's vital you've got that, but I think as important is having a good support network out with the hospital as well. Let's be honest, IBD in children doesn't just impact the child, it impacts the whole family for a number of different reasons. That can be, just in terms of our story, which is relative to lots of families. When Jenny was spending long periods in the hospital, we still had another child that we were looking after as well. And, Kirstine was at the hospital for the majority of the time, and we would literally pass each other for days and weeks. That support network's crucial. I remember one of the first things one of the medical team said to me at the hospital after Jenny was diagnosed, and I remember my very first meeting with you as well. And one of the things I was told that night when they were pretty sure that Jenny had IBD was, don't go on the internet. And the first thing I did when I got home was on the internet. I think it was dial-up internet back then. So it took a bit.
You've always listened to what I've said, Barry.
Exactly.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know.
So I remember doing that.
Do something completely the opposite.
Well, I was a bit of a I had to know everything, and literally something like IBD, nobody will ever know everything, because if we did, we'd have bloody cured the thing by now. But I always like to get as much information as I can, but that can be dangerous as well, because that information's got to come from a good source. And a lot of the forums that I was looking at back in those days were just horrendous, actually. It was so depressing, so negative. You know, and I remember going back every night, and I was on one and another candle was being lit for a child. And it was horrific. It was absolutely horrible. But that support network, we've been fortunate. We've met, you know, we talk about the support that we've offered people as a family, and Jenny doing buddying with children, Kirsty and I speaking to parents. But we got that in return as well. You know, there's people out there like Lance Robbins. Lance is, I know he joins these Q&As from time to time. Kirstine could go to Lance at any time of the day and get advice, you know, get guidance. And just sometimes having that reassuring word was crucial for a family.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the great things about the foundation, one of the many great things, is being able to, you know, to meet other families at family days and relate to them. And everybody is just naturally at a different point on the journey, and everybody can support each other through, you know, the different times. But to have specific people like you've mentioned, I'm sure was really helpful.
Yeah.
I think, Jenny, you know, one of the things that, you know, young people find it hardest to talk about, and I hope I'm not going to say anything out of turn here, but, you know, having an operation when you have a stoma bag and you have to cope with that is one of the most, you know, difficult things that a lot of people face. And they see it as, you know, as a last resort. I know that for you, it happened at a young age, so I'm not sure how much you can remember about it, but if someone, you know, is watching tonight and was being faced with the, you know, the prospect of having an operation and having a stoma for, you know, a period of time, what advice would you give to them, or what can you remember? How did you manage to cope with that?
I think definitely for the most part it gives you a new sort of lease of life. It can really help you feel a lot better. And I think, like what I've said before, is that there's so many people out there that have stoma bags, and, you know, reach out, talk to them. They'll definitely understand where you're coming from, and it's okay to feel, you know, scared, and, you know, it's something completely different. Obviously, you'll need to go through, but it will be absolutely fine. The amount of people that have them nowadays, you know, you see it everywhere. So it's definitely becoming a lot more common. So yeah. So
can I ask, when you obviously now, you know, it's well known that you have IBD, and, you know, you're an advocate for IBD awareness and education and everything. But when you were younger, who did you tell? Did you tell a small group of people, or nobody, or just your family and friends, or how did you share it?
It's something that I don't really, I mean, obviously close family and friends will kind of know, you know, what it's like, sometimes what I need to go through having IBD, but it's, you know, it's easy to, you know, put my makeup on and put on fake tan, so it can be hard for other people to understand it. But anyone that I have spoken to about it, you know, whether it be my friends or whoever, obviously really supportive and understanding about it. And it's important to have those kind of people in your life that will understand what you're going through.
Yeah. And what about you, Barry, from a parent's perspective? Did you share the news widely, or did you keep it within your family? What from your experience now, looking back, is the best thing to do for somebody who's, you know, faced with a new IBD diagnosis in their child? What is the best way to share that information? Is it easier to talk about now than it was then, or?
I would hope it's certainly easier to talk about it now, Richard. I think when you look at all the great media campaigns, you know, the girls behind Get Your Belly Out, you know, there's been a number of celebrities who have openly come out and spoke about IBD and spoke about how they're impacted by IBD. And I think that's been really, really important. And it's hopefully instilled a bit of confidence in people that there is absolutely nothing they should be ashamed about. You know, it's a topic that you should be able to speak about. And I know certainly in the workplace, you know, there's recognition for these type of illnesses or conditions more than there ever was. You know, there's an understanding that, you know, you can't always see visibly that someone is unwell. And I think that's been really, really important as well. But, you know, my advice would be the more people that are aware of it, the more education that you're creating. And the more understanding that people will have on it as well. But, you know, Jenny was young when she had her stoma. I think she was probably about 6 then. So there clearly was, you know, she'd missed quite a significant part of school. But, you know, we were keen to get some normality back. A lot of the school she'd missed had been through hospital stays, the difficulty in maintaining her illness. And obviously we'd reached a point where medication just was not an option. So, but I recall within days of Jenny having that surgery, the change in her was phenomenal. And I know that's not always the case for every single individual. But for us, it was a massive time. It really was. And Jenny just thrived for a period of time before she then had a reversal operation as well.
Do you think there's any prejudice or discrimination which goes on, you know, at the moment against people who have, you know, bowel conditions and, you know, may or may not have stoma bags or need to use the bathroom more? Is there still a stigma attached to it? I know obviously things have changed. People talk about it more. There's lots of education. There's high profile celebrities who have talked about it, but there's also an equal number who haven't.
Yeah.
And, you know, they will not come on something like this and chat about it. So
Yep.
I wonder what both of your perspectives are on that.
So I think there absolutely is still discrimination that will exist there. I think it will take a number of years before you completely, you know, take that away. And whether that happens in our lifetime, who knows? But all we can do is the best we can. In terms of the awareness part of, well, you know, you think of school, you think of areas where there's mass population, like offices, schools, and how can you educate there? How can you talk to people about what another individual may be going through? And how that impacts on them. And I know Jenny's done a lot of talks. She's been invited along. You know, kids that have been diagnosed where the teachers have possibly struggled to understand the impact it has on the kid, and the kid having to, you know, attend the toilet multiple times throughout the day. So she's done a lot of education talks, and also to large corporates as well. So education in the office, so that people have got awareness as well. And if someone's in the toilet for, you know, an hour of their working day, it doesn't mean that they're sitting on their mobile phone reading the Daily Mail. There could be another reason behind that.
Jenny, what do you think? Has there been any examples of prejudice or discrimination against you because of your bowel condition, or?
I think I've been really, really lucky. My school were really supportive of my illness, but I know that's not the case for all other children. Like my dad said, I've been invited into primary schools or high schools where the patient are getting no support whatsoever from their school, because of a lack of understanding of the illness. And I think, like my dad said, awareness is really important, and we'll keep doing that until there's a greater, bigger understanding of invisible illnesses in general.
Yeah. There's lots of people posting, but not many people are posting questions. They're all just saying you're amazing, Jenny, and how inspirational you are. So lots of people are talking about, you know, you talking at the ball or tea, Jenny. Somebody's asking you, Barry, if you're drinking craft beer while doing the show. But Leslie, Lucy, Caroline are all, you know, just responding and remembering, Jenny, all of the things that you've done before and how powerful your speeches have been. So they've obviously inspired people, you know, at many different stages throughout your journey. Fraser Simpson has asked a question to you, but I'm not sure you can answer it. Anyway, Fraser, thanks very much for your question, and thanks everybody for posting all their very kind comments. Clearly, Jenny has been a big inspiration. Fraser says, how have you found the change from the amazing paediatric care to being in the big hospital?
Obviously, I've just turned 18, so that kind of subject, it's a wee bit confusing. I don't know if I've transitioned fully into the adult hospital yet or not, but that will probably be something, it will be something that will be happening in the future. So I know we've done a lot of work, trying to make transitioning easier for children. So, and that's something that we definitely want to help with as well in the future to make it as easy as possible.
It's too early to say, and I think some of the issues are probably around coronavirus and the pandemic, and everything really has, including transition, has really been put on hold for a year. I think also you keep better at the moment than you have done before. I don't know that for sure, but I think you're probably going to hospital less often than you were before too. So a combination of those things have probably meant that things just haven't moved forward with that for you. So it's maybe next year's Q&A that you need to answer that question on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you worried about the transfer away from children's services, or?
I think it's normal. It's a new environment. New doctors and nurses. But I'm confident that it will all be fine. I think it will be absolutely fine. And I know there's a lot of help and support as well along that way, so that will make it a lot easier too. So I think it's definitely normal to feel nervous for it, but it will be fine.
Yeah. So I think it happens at a time in life, usually when you're leaving high school as well. So I think it probably makes sense at the time that you're leaving high school that is also a time to leave, the children's hospital at the same time. And I would see it as a positive step forward for you. It's usually, to be honest, young people usually manage the movement from one children's hospital to an adult hospital okay. It's usually often the parents that find it more difficult. So I wonder, Barry, especially, I would reflect on all of the families that I've seen. It's usually families who have been with the service for a long time and had, an up and down journey where, transition can sometimes be a very challenging time for the parents. What are your thoughts around the move from children to adult services?
I completely agree. And I was actually going to ask that. I was going to mention it before you brought it up, Richard. I think the impact on parents, I know Kirstine and I, not the concerns as much, but it's the change. You've got a relationship you've had with a team for the last nearly 15 years. And not only do they get to know you as a family, they get to know individually the kids that they look after as well. And they know the wee different parts to their personality, and they know quite often, how to deal with them as well. But as parents, we get a lot of comfort for that. It doesn't matter if they're 17, 18, 19, 20, 25, they're still, as you know as well, Richard, they're still our kids. And that change can be difficult for parents, I think. I think that's probably, in some cases, maybe more so than some of the kids who just carry on as normal and move over. But the parents have had that, the safety of a team that knows them, the safety of the team that they can get in contact with. I remember even Mr. Haddock when he retired. I think Kirstine locked herself in a room and cried for a week. So it has a big impact on the family. There's no doubt about it. Yep.
Yeah, I think 90% of the time, the people who find it hard for the transition are the parents. And if the IBD nurses have got hankies out in the transition clinic, it's usually the parent that they're giving them to, not the young person. I don't know whether that reflects well on the transition process based around the young person, because clearly we target the, learning new skills and coping and developing to them rather than the parents, or whether it reflects badly on us that we haven't prepared the parents as much as we should. But I guess our primary person to put through transition is the young person themselves, because we're actually almost deliberately excluding parents at that point, because we want the young person to be able to to talk for themselves. Because of the different style in the adult hospital, then they need to get used to that. So maybe we'll need a packet of Kleenex for you at some point later this year, Barry, or your wife. just to see this whole process through. So we've talked about the Catherine McEwan Foundation. I think it wouldn't be right, Jenny, not to talk about the Glasgow Children's Hospital charity as well. What about the work and involvement that you've had with them?
So we first met Kirsten from the charity when I was 5, when I came up with the idea to do a fundraising event, and we've built a really close relationship with Kirsten and also all of the others that work at the charity as well, for a number of years, and the work that they do for children staying in the hospital and making their stays that little bit easier is amazing. And yeah, we're definitely really proud to be part of that.
And will you stay involved with them once you leave, or?
Yeah, definitely. And you know, we've got a really good relationship with them, so definitely stay involved and then see what else I can do for the adult hospital too. So yeah.
So we have a question for you, Jenny, from Kirsty Bethel. So Kirsty, thank you very much. Does Jenny have any words of advice to help support our nearly 7-year-old son as he becomes more aware of his Crohn's disease?
I think it obviously that's such a young age, but I think like I said earlier, you know, to make sure that he can, you know, talk to his family or, you know, whoever about it, and just make him aware that he's definitely not the only one who's going through what he's going through just now. So yeah. And
when you were at school, how much did you talk to your teachers about it? How much were your teachers involved? I know you obviously said that the high school was very supportive, but for young Mr. Bethel, he's at primary school, clearly in primary 1 and primary 2. Can you, maybe it's more a question for your dad actually, because maybe he was more involved with the teachers and things then. How much of a role do they have? And, you know, for Mrs. Bethel, should she be talking to the primary teachers and things, or what advice do you have?
Yeah, absolutely, Richard. I would strongly advise any parent whose child at any age has been diagnosed with IBD to engage with the school as soon as possible, you know, just in terms of, you know, there may or there may not be some absences in the future. That could even be for hospital visits, etc. But just really letting the school know at an early stage of the diagnosis, and perhaps encouraging the school to, you know, engage through some of the national charities as well. I see Circa on the live stream just now. You've also got Crohns&colitis UK. There's a lot of very, very useful information which is out there for schools, as it is for employers as well. So, you know, my advice would be absolutely engage the school. We were fortunate at secondary school with Jenny, where she had people like Mr. McKenna, Mr. Moore, Miss Sinclair, etc. But actually at primary school as well, the school were great. I must say, once Jenny had the surgery and had a reasonable long run at school time, because the unfortunate thing with inflammatory bowel disease is, you know, certainly in the early stages of diagnosis, you will be back and forward at the hospital for a period of time for checks and just making sure that, you know, things are going to plan in terms of medication, etc.
And a very practical question for you both. In terms of schools, we often have to engage with schools, and we like to do education and chat to them, but, you know, a very practical level, access to toilets and, you know, school toilets is a big issue. Was it an issue for you to be able to get out of class either in primary or secondary school and just have access to the toilets, or is that less of an issue now than it used to be?
For me personally, it wasn't an issue at all, and I would hope that it's not an issue now, especially now for other children, but I know that always won't be the case, which again is why I think awareness is such an important thing. It's equally as important as fundraising for new equipment and research. It's to make people aware of the condition as well.
Barry?
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think again something like inflammatory bowel disease, Richard, the anxiety for someone not to have access to a toilet, or a child not feeling that the they can ask to go to a toilet, it's only going to make, I'm not a medical expert, but it's only going to make things worse. It's going to make things worse for them. I've no doubt at all. People should be given access to the support in schools, workplaces that they require. Absolutely no doubt about that whatsoever. And you shouldn't be afraid to ask for that support either.
Yeah, I think it still is an issue, unfortunately, for a lot of people. And I wonder if we need a fresh campaign just to say, there are lots of people who, need access to toilets, and, lots of toilets are locked now, or, in schools as well, and you need special permission. And then, the stigma that we're talking about, and, I suppose it's low level discrimination not to be able to access something that you need for your health.
Yep.
Is very important. So, Barry, do you want to say what the foundation are doing just in terms of the work around locating toilets? Or?
Yeah. I know Derek's been working for a while now on an app, which planning to launch in the near future, which is literally, it'll be an app which will give, through a mapping system, access and visibility of toilets within that region, that location. And again, for anyone that's perhaps travelling in the future and they've got a route that they're taking, they can clearly have in mind where there potentially could be toilets for them to access as well. And that, for someone who lives with IBDs, is a massive thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I hope that, becomes around very soon. I think, the pandemic's caused a million problems, but, access to toilets has become more and more difficult for people. And, as people are now able to do more, there needs to be the ability to have, free and easy access to toilets to encourage patients with inflammatory bowel disease to go out. You're not getting any hard questions tonight from the audience, just, many more words of encouragement and inspiration, and referring to, good resources around education and things from the Kikra page, as you mentioned already, Barry. So there's lots of good resources there, lots of good resources on Crohn's and Colitis UK to absolutely reinforce just what both of you have been saying tonight. So I think just before we close the session tonight, I'd just like to come back to the theme of tonight, and inspire. And I wonder, Jenny, if you just want to give us some words of inspiration going forward, looking back on your fundraising. Tell us how much, before you do that, how much you've raised in total so far.
So far I've raised about £400,000 for the foundation.
Oh my goodness me, I didn't actually realise that. That is absolutely amazing. Seriously, I thought it was half of that, and that would be amazing, but I can't actually believe that. That is absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
So is $500,000 your target then? My goodness.
Has to be, yep.
So for all the potential fundraisers out there and the educators and advocates, give us some words of inspiration before we close tonight, Jen.
In terms of fundraising, or just in general?
The whole shooting match, the whole shebang.
The whole shebang. I think, keep going, keep raising awareness about IBD. I think we're doing really well. We've made so much progress when you look back over the years. It's definitely been spoken about a lot more now, and we can only just keep on going and making improvements before it's something that's, freely spoken about. And then the more money we raise, hopefully the closer we'll be to finding, better treatment, and hopefully one day a cure for IBD.
Fantastic, and so modest too. Barry, would you like to close with a song? No, seriously. Anything you would like to add to those words?
No, I think probably just echoing a little bit of what Jenny said there, Richard. I think we've got to recognise how far we have come along. I think it's difficult for families that are on the journey, any part of that journey, and that can fluctuate sometimes. You can have a really good run at it, and then something can come along and hit you like a train, and before you know it, you're back to where you felt you were before. But these types of events, I could never have imagined, 14 years ago, that we would be sitting live on a Zoom talking so openly about inflammatory bowel disease, and the awareness and the understanding and the recognition of that illness and what that means for the individual who's impacted by it and their families as well. So, I'm not one for inspirational words. I'll completely leave that to Jenny. I just think that we all as a family are incredibly proud of the achievements that Jenny's had throughout the years. It's we've had some moments as well where you've got to pinch yourself. I could tell a few funny ones, but probably they would involve Kirstine, and she'll probably divorce me. So we'll maybe keep that for a future Zoom.
I think the least number of divorces we cause by this, the better. So I'm going to just stop you there, Barry, just before you say anything that might get you into marital disharmony. So seriously, on behalf of everybody, on behalf of the foundation, thank you for all the excellent work you've both done in your whole family for raising awareness, raising money, and generally being an inspiration to everybody. Everybody, please share this page. We are running a number of different events. This one tonight has been magical and inspirational. We'll continue to dovetail these with educational events as well, but we will have similar events to tonight coming up, mixed in with some educational events. So keep an eye on the foundation site, keep an eye on the page, and there will be future very big news coming very soon. Keep your eyes here, and it's not what the Scotland team is next week. Good night, take care, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.